На позицию! Передвижение закончено! Противник замечен! Мы находимся в обороне! Передвижение закончено!
Находимся под огнем!
Уничтожен! На позицию! Передвижение закончено!
Находимся под огнем!
Нам не давай! На позицию!
Ложись! Мы сдаемся!
На позицию! Бережем патрон!
Цель обезврежена!
На позицию! Передвижение закончено! На позицию! Бережем патроны!
Keep your head down!
На позицию! Передвижение закончено! Передвижение закончено! На позицию!
We're under heavy fire! We're pinned down! Сержант!
На позицию! Бережем! Передвижение закончено! Бережем патроны! Бережем патроны! Бережем патроны! Передвижение закончено! Передвижение закончено! Передвижение закончено!
Keep your heads down!
Передвижение закончено!
Не стреляйте! Не стреляйте!
Начинается паника!
Находимся под огнем!
Передвижение закончено!
Насильно обстреливаю!
Передвижение закончено!
Браво!
Передвижение закончено. На позицию.
Сержант!
Бережем патроны.
Сержант, кто может!
Нам не давай. Передвижение закончено. Экономим боеприпасы! Нам нужно отступать! Цель за пределом досягаемости!
Находимся под
Нам не
обстрелом!
давать!
Не удалось!
Взвод уничтожен!
Connection aborted.
Biggest round of the fight for anybody. Frazier was within a punch or two of going down. Doctor comes up and looks at Frazier.
The thing that really, I believe, hurt my dad was that he gave his heart, his soul to help another brother, and then that brother comes back and then like a knife cuts him.
In one corner, boxing history's most favored pugilist, a braggadocious icon whose sharp tongue and poetry could build up the magnitude of a fight and also belittle any man who was pitted against him. And in the other corner stood a humble man of indomitable courage, a pure fighter through and through. Boxing is referred to as the sweet science because of the majestic prowess its practitioners often display. But the sport continues to thrive because of hardened men who are willing to put it all on the line in front of thousands of fans. Men like Joe Frazier, a fighter not inhibited by fear, who should be remembered by fans as the ultimate crowd pleaser. While Muhammad Ali's legacy has been blessed with adulation and has been accorded the highest status in boxing, Joe has been tagged merely as the opponent. Rainy Day Boxing brings you Joe Frazier, a boxing legend.
Frazier, hailed by Dempsey and many of the others, one of the most devastating punchers of all heavyweight champions.
If you hit him, he liked it. If you missed him, he'd just get upset and come after you more. I was afraid of Joe Frazier because there wasn't any hype. What you saw is what you got.
Man took a terrible beating. He wouldn't fall. I said, "Are you crazy?" I hit him there. I said, "You must be crazy." He said, "Yes, right. I'm crazy." I just kept going. I'm crazy.
Frazier was born January 12, 1944, in Beaufort, South Carolina. Then known as the hunger capital of America, Joe was raised in crushing poverty, a no-frills upbringing, working 12-hour days on the farm. There was little time for dreaming in Beaufort, and even fewer prospects. But when his small town organized an exhibition boxing match, Joe's optimism would forever change.
Joe Louis, the heavyweight champion, came into Beaufort. Joe was there. He promised his father after he saw Joe Louis fight, he said, "I'm going to be a fighter one day."
Young Frazier made his own punching bag, filling a burlap sack with corn cobs and sand. No matter how grueling the workdays were, Joe always made time for his sack. Intent on escaping the common labors on the farm and determined to develop his boxing skills, Joe left home at the age of 15 and made way for Philadelphia. A father at 16, to provide for his son, Frazier worked at a slaughterhouse by day and at night generated heat at the local boxing gym. His raging work ethic made an immediate impression.
Joe Frazier, when he was working out, the hardest working man in the boxing business.
We went to the Frazier camp, and there is a single-minded, tough, very impressive guy. I'd never seen him work before, and if I were a sparring partner for Joe Frazier, I'd want to take out a life insurance policy.
Joe quickly climbed up the amateur rankings, winning 38 of 40 bouts and claiming 3 straight Golden Gloves titles. In the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, Frazier represented the U.S., competing in the heavyweight division, knocking out every opponent on his way to the finals. Unbeknownst to the officials, Joe had fractured his left thumb. Despite being injured, Joe was able to box his way to a unanimous decision, winning the gold medal.
Shortly after the Olympics, the All-American Smokin' Joe turned professional. Short for a heavyweight, but full of courage, Frazier fought with a frightening intensity rarely seen before in the ring.
From 1965 to 1967, Frazier burned a hole through the heavyweight division.
Joe Frazier stood 5 foot 11 inches tall and weighed 205 pounds of compact muscle that was conditioned to bulldoze another man's mind and body for 15 rounds. From the opening bell, Joe would come out akin to a locomotive, perpetually bobbing up and down. Frazier sought to exert his will upon his opponent, digging shots into their liver, their kidney, and even targeting the heart. And as his victims clinched onto him for dear life, Joe would wrestle himself free and continue to brutalize their internal organs. Their only option was to retreat, as this unceasing force relentlessly pursued them.
Joe Frazier was a truth machine, and if you weren't in supreme condition, he would find it out.
Ramos is being battered now, and Ramos is down.
If he hit you in the kidneys, you'd pass blood for a month. And if he'd hit you in the ribs, you wouldn't breathe right for 6 months. And if he hit you in the jaw, you were down.
That's the left hook, and that does it.
I don't know anyone who gets the sheer joy of combat the way Joe Frazier does.
When you shot the right hand at me and caught me with it good, I said, "Sister, you can't hit. I done take everything you sold. You ain't got nothing."
By 1967, Joe Frazier was the standout contender for the heavyweight title, which was then held by Muhammad Ali. To the large anti-Ali community that existed in that time, Frazier was seen as a stoic man who could hopefully dethrone the controversial champion and restore dignity to the fight game.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Muhammad Ali has just refused to be inducted into the United States Armed Forces.
For refusing military induction, the governing bodies of boxing immediately stripped Ali of the titles, and a ban was placed on him by every commission in the country, preventing him from fighting. An 8-man elimination tournament was then devised to determine his successor.
Here's the situation. The World Boxing Association has been holding an elimination tournament to try to find a successor to Cassius Clay or Muhammad Ali. However, one of the top contenders chose not to participate in that tournament. That was Joe Frazier.
Cassius has refused to be drafted, has really turned this championship picture upside down. How do you feel about it?
Well, I always had want to fight Clay more than anything in this world. I think that if I could meet him one of these days, I could whip him. But it looks like he's out of the picture now, so we'll just take the next man who take his place.
Frazier was advised to boycott the tournament, which allowed Jimmy Ellis to go all the way and claim the WBA title. Joe instead took on the only man to have beaten him in the amateurs, undefeated Buster Mathis.
Frazier is smiling. Wow, Mathis was rocked. And the referee is going to stop the fight.
And I took all the steam out of him in the first 3 rounds or 4 rounds.
and I'd see that. So therefore, it wasn't no sense.
Wait a minute. Here comes Jimmy Ellis.
He ain't
Now,
no champ. I don't even stand with him.
when do you want to fight Frazier?
I'm ready to fight him tonight. I'm ready tonight. I'm gonna beat you.
After Joe's triumph over Mathis, New York and 4 other states recognized him as the world champion. The victor of the 1970 showdown between Ellis and Frazier would be accepted as the new heavyweight king.
Well, Jimmy Ellis is going to be in this ring in a few minutes. Do you have anything to say to him before he goes in? Well, I've got nothing to do with it. Train hard, Jimmy, and both men win.
Frazier is strong, sensing the kill, trying for it. Joe Frazier in utter dominance now. Frazier giving it to him and giving it to him. A left, a right, a left. Down goes Ellis. Ellis standing there. Oh, a tremendous left hook. This fight is over. It is over. The winner, heavyweight champion of the world, Joe Frazier.
To his contemporaries, Frazier seemed unbeatable. But public opinion of Joe was that he was a pretender, merely keeping Ali's belts warm. Until he fought the real champion, his legitimacy would always be in question.
For Joe Frazier to be a champion, he's got to beat me. See, those eliminations are only imitations. He's not the real champion.
I consider myself the heavyweight champion of the world until the champ get back in action again.
I assume you're talking about Muhammad Ali.
That's right, and I would like to face him.
And how do you think that would come out?
Well, I think I'll take it.
Not satisfied with Ali's second-hand glory, Frazier desperately tried to get his rival's boxing license reinstated, publicly lobbying for the ex-champ, privately lending him money to survive, and even asking President Nixon to support Ali's licensing. After a 3-year hiatus, the ban was finally lifted. A matchup between Ali and Frazier could now become a reality.
During Muhammad Ali's 3.5-year exile from boxing, Joe Frazier had continually supported him. But when Ali was allowed back into the ring, he dramatically turned on his one-time friend and ally.
Well, number one, he's too ugly to be the world heavyweight champion.
His nose is flat, he's ugly, he can't talk.
Joe had heard Ali over the radio call him ugly, a coward. He was so shocked and stunned by it that he threw down the radio and crushed it with his foot.
Yank Durham and myself was responsible for Clay to get a license. And after he got a little foothold, he tried to do everything and say everything to put me down.
Joe was the butt of Ali's jokes that were being heard around the world, and the people were eating it up. Frazier was cut from a different cloth. He allowed his fists to do the talking. There was a cruelty in Ali, demeaning a man who didn't possess the same verbal jousting capabilities as himself, and especially one who had no intention of playing that game. With the build-up taking place in such a politically heated era, Ali took it upon himself to endow the event with a good versus evil aspect, having no hesitation to characterize Joe with the worst label a black man can receive.
Because he's the Uncle Tom.
Well, he came from a very, very humble background.
I don't care, he's the other type Negro. He's not like me. Joe Frazier's worse than you to me.
He knew perfectly well that Joe was one of the blackest men in the universe. For him to be viewed as a white, sucking Uncle Tom kind of guy was the greatest insult you could give a guy who is nothing but raging black.
My skin is blacker than him. I grew up in a ghetto. He grew up in the suburbs. He's making me the white guy because he has a gift from God that he can talk better than me. He said his sons were taunted in school and he felt dehumanized.
Frazier was ill-equipped to go toe-to-toe with Ali's sharp tongue, and the insults cut deep to Joe's core and would fester in his mind for many years to come. No matter how much Ali liked to outshine Joe with words, he'd eventually have to deal with him inside the ring. Billed as the fight of the century, Frazier would finally have the opportunity to close the mouth of his tormentor.
Boxing is dead. That's what they've been telling us. And yet here we are just 6 days away from another fight of the century.
Wait till I get you in the ring. Wait, get your hands off me.
Look how scared I am.
I'm sticking on you.
I'm not the easiest guy in the world of sight. You're gonna have to do it to me
can't psych me.
Listen to me. I'm going to hold you to it. Go ahead, son. I'm going to talk to you when I whoop you.
You're going to see two heavyweight champions fighting. One is the phony and one is the real one. And it's going to be easy to distinguish who is the phony.
Joe Frazier's moment had arrived. The who's who of the world filled up the arena, and viewers from around the globe tuned in to make it the most watched sporting event in history. For months, Joe had been burning up inside, itching to get his hands on Ali. He would not be denied. The fury commenced right from the opening bell. Ali was shocked. Never had he experienced such relentless stalking and unwavering determination.
They've both taken each other's punches well, but this windmill of a machine, this threshing machine that is Joe Frazier, still comes on at him. This is the best heavyweight championship fight for many years. Here's the big drive for Muhammad Ali. He's got the crowd going with him, and he motions to Frazier and says, listen, they're rooting for me. And Frazier keeps coming, bounding across this ring, looking for his man all the time.
Ali continued to hurl insults at Frazier in the early rounds. But unlike his previous foes, Joe talked too. And unlike Ali, Frazier was backing up his words. As Joe landed left hook after left hook, Ali's mouth began to swell. He became silent.
And it's noticeable that the talking has stopped. Clay's got his work cut out now with this fight, and he knows it. Frazier talking to Clay. Frazier grins. He puts his hands down and he laughs. And he says, your punches aren't hurting me. That's a good left hook, and there's a speck of blood on Clay's nose. And he scored with a lot of punches. And Frazier takes a swipe at him. Counter cheers bring out to Joe Frazier. Joe, they shout.
Much like Ali used to taunt and play with his opponents, it was now Joe who was toying with Ali. The floating butterfly's wings were clipped and were slowed down to a walk. After absorbing 100 debilitating hooks to the body, Ali was no longer a boxer. He was a target.
Frazier really goes after him, and he's got him with a left hook. He's done it once too often. Clay's in trouble. And Clay is fighting for survival. The whole of the side of Clay's face, the right-hand side, is scarlet and swollen. What a thumping left hook that was. And suddenly Clay has evaporated.
Heading into the final round, Frazier had given Ali the worst battering of his career and was ahead on the official scorecards. But it wasn't enough. Releasing the rage he had been bottling up, Frazier delivered boxing history's most iconic left hook.
You can see the side of Clay's face swelling where he took that tremendous left hook. It's over and it's gone the distance.
The winner by unanimous decision and still heavyweight champion of the world, Joe Frazier.
After the smoke had cleared, Ali knew Joe was a different kind of man than he had ever dealt with before. Silent as he left the ring, Muhammad Ali had no words left to say.
Frazier emerged from the fight the undisputed champion, but he was a weary, battered victor after 15 punishing rounds.
I just let him know, man, I can take anything that he dish out and some more. That's why I did it. I let him know he can't hurt you. He might cook you, but he can't hurt you.
The victory was short-lived for Joe, as he would spend the next 30 days in intensive care. As believed by many boxing historians, the shelf life of a swarming toe-to-toe fighter like Frazier isn't long. Joe would never be the same after those 15 grueling rounds.
Joe Frazier was admitted to the Dufresne Pavilion of St. Luke's Hospital this afternoon, suffering from extreme fatigue and high blood pressure.
I went over to the hospital. It was very sad to go there. There was nobody there at all, and he was very close to death.
At Kennedy Airport this morning, Joe Frazier and his rock and roll group, the Knockouts, departed for a 6-week European tour.
His motivation had begun to desert him. It was almost a year until he fought again.
By this time, George Foreman, another fearsome force of destruction, had arrived on the scene. Against the wishes of his manager, Joe, being a prideful champion, requested to take on the up-and-coming juggernaut. Styles make fights, and unfortunately for Joe, there just wasn't any possibility of his come-forward approach working in this matchup.
We'll find out tonight how much the Ali fight took out of Frazier. Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Foreman is all over Joe Frazier! Frazier is down again! Frazier's knees buckled! He is down! He is rising! He is game! He doesn't know where he is!
What's amazing about Frazier is at the end, he's dusting off his gloves, getting ready to go back out. Frazier was just going back out.
You ask me how well they fight, I don't know, but I can tell you one thing, he punched good. He punched very good.
A year later, Ali would go on to reclaim the title from George Foreman, setting up a final confrontation with Smokin' Joe. Ali's team, thinking Frazier was a washed-up fighter, thought they were gifting poor old Joe with a payday when they agreed to meet him once again. The bitter feud resumed as Ali continually provoked Frazier. Joe's distaste for Ali was palpable.
It will be a thriller and a chiller and a killer when I get the griller in the Miller. I know, yeah. I know about it. Hey, it's Joe Frazier! Joe Frazier! Joe Frazier!
This is a fight between him and I, and it doesn't concern other things that he throw in the game and try to fight you with. This is the problem.
Joe Frazier over there. Listen, all Negroes look like that?
When he called Joe Frazier a gorilla, and he made fun of the darkness of his skin and the wideness of his nose and the bigness of his lips, he was touching some real sore spot.
I can't see anywhere I'd look like any gorilla. We supposed to be from the same ancestors.
Joe Frazier's just an ordinary individual. He's not intelligent. He's just flat-nosed, ugly pug.
It's not going to be a first-round knockout. If it gets to that point, I want to go over and help him up. You know what I'm saying? I want to take him to the distance. I want to take him to the bridge. 15 rounds. I want to beat on him. I figure like when you knock a man out, you take him out of his misery. Something a little beating on him, that hurts him more than anything in the world.
Ali stood in the center of the ring, trying to beat Joe at his own game. It was evident that he expected an easy fight, but Ali soon found himself in a battle that he did not bargain for.
Frazier is very strong and scoring heavily. Joe is now doubly hooking with that left hand, head and body, body and head, and again is beating him to the punch constantly.
6 consecutive rounds. Frazier punished Ali, working exclusively at his body.
He wasn't just beating Ali, he was beating Ali up.
Unknown to most people, Joe Frazier fought the entirety of his professional career with one eye partially blind, and heading into the 10th round, his good eye was starting to swell. In a demonstration of his will, Frazier began taking a beating in almost complete darkness. Joe had no intention of surrendering. Ali's words were echoing in his mind, and no matter how close to death he felt, yielding was not an option.
Ali went back to his corner and said cut him off. He was exhausted.
It looked like Ali was going to have to quit in the corner. He couldn't breathe. He said in the corner, I feel like I'm dying.
While Ali was pleading with his corner to stop the fight, Joe, despite being virtually blind, was desperate for it to continue.
I said, let me go out. He said, you can't see it. I said, I can visualize it. Don't worry about it. He said, no. So I said, okay.
Frazier in the end had to quit, and Ali's out on his back in the ring. He's collapsed. Ali has collapsed on his back.
He is tough. He's a great fighter. Joey, you disappointed him to stop?
Well, I wasn't happy about it.
He didn't want to stop. He didn't want to
continue going on.
Frazier was an unpretentious man who walked tall with dignity. He may not have been tall in stature, but if we measure a man by his heart and his character, then Smokin' Joe was a mountain of a man. The golden era of boxing wouldn't have been as vibrant without him, and it would be an insult to Joe if his role in boxing history were to be labeled as Muhammad Ali's arch-rival. His win over Ali in their historic first fight, and the effort he gave to gain that defining achievement, should give him universal recognition as one of the greatest fighters ever to lace up a pair of gloves.
He's got a hard left hook. Listen, he hit me so, I'm gonna give him credit. He hit me so hard it jarred my kinfolks in Africa. I mean, he was hitting hard.
A guy who came here and worked his way up from nothing and won the heavyweight championship of the world and should go down as one of the 10 greatest heavyweight champions of all time, and probably won't.
In the afterlight of their blood feud trilogy, Ali basks in history, much of it etched in his own public rhetoric, while Frazier remains alone and underappreciated. I don't need to be loved, he said. When I go out there to do my road work, I'm alone. When I get in the ring, I'm alone.
One of the